There are some major developments on the Eagles' pursuit of a Myles Garrett trade. Also, Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown said some very important things about the promotion of Kevin Patulo to offensive coordinator that you cannot miss. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and the show starts now. It is Friday, February 21st. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all having a great Friday and you're getting set to have a fantastic weekend. A loaded show on the docket as I previewed off the top, but I want to begin with this. We are wiping the slate clean and we're having a new sub-battle between all of the NFC East channels under the Chat Sports umbrella, and we're all starting at 0 subs. We know that the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Let's be champions with this sub-battle, and let's annihilate all of the other NFC East foes. The Cowboys report a bunch of frauds, just like Cowboys fans. The New York Giants, they are a dumpster fire. The Commanders, 55-23. You already know the deal from the NFC Championship game. The Eagles are the cream of the crop inside this division, and let's make that the case inside the walls of Chat Sports. Hit that subscribe button for the most elite and the best Eagles coverage right here on YouTube, with videos coming your way every single day year-round. Let's begin with the latest buzz around Myles Garrett. The Eagles' interest in Garrett is real, and there's a lot of chatter around the National Football League that Howie Roseman is going to sniff around on a Garrett blockbuster trade. And you look no further than the next team odds for Garrett. The Commanders, 3-1 odds to land one of the top pass rushers in the game. Eagles right behind Washington at plus 450. The Browns at 5-1 odds. The Bills at plus 550. And the Detroit Lions at plus 650. And why a trade could happen, I really put together 10 reasons for why the Eagles could land the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year. As we know, Howie Roseman prioritizes building the trenches. Philadelphia, what was their game plan against Kansas City? What was their formula of success against Patrick Mahomes? They stomped the Chiefs with dominant defensive line play. The Eagles are also firmly in their Super Bowl window. The average age of this roster going into 2025 is 26 years old in 2 months. They're the 6th youngest roster in the NFL, and a lot of their marquee players will be back for 2025 and are going to be on this team for the foreseeable future. Why not continue to keep the pedal to the floor and go back-to-back? Let's launch a dynasty here in Philadelphia. I also think it's realistic that the Eagles could let Josh Sweat and Milton Williams walk in free agency. And let's say Sweat and Williams get somewhere in the neighborhood of about $20 million per year. The Eagles could then pay Garrett a contract extension, and he's on the Bucs currently under the current construct of his deal for about $25 million per year. The Eagles could let Sweat and Williams go, pay Garrett, and save money. Ultimate flex from Ski Mask Howie. The Birds also have draft capital to give up. And if they let the likes of Sweat and Williams go to other teams in free agency, compensatory picks will be on the way for the 2026 NFL Draft. Philadelphia is the best defensive line in the NFL. Continue to stack that up with the player, the likes of Garrett. He would thrive in this scheme under Vic Fangio. He's 29 years old, no signs of decline. 14 sacks the last 2 years, 16 sacks in the previous 2 years also individually in the other 2 campaigns prior to the last 2 years. So he's been getting it done since he was the first overall pick out of Texas A&M all the way back in 2017, and there's no signs of decline. And what the Eagles could do here, ultimate flex, show the other contenders what's up and that the Eagles are not going anywhere. And I next want to segue to some salary cap news from this week. The NFL informing teams that the 2025 salary cap will be between $277.5 million and $281.5 million. That is an increase of $22+ to $26+ million year over year from last year. And so right now, currently, the Eagles have an estimated salary cap space allotment of about $20 million if the salary cap were between these two numbers. sitting at around $279 million, and that could easily go up. Now, earlier this week, I gave you this breakdown from Brett Coleman on the exploding salary cap. It's going up this year, but it's going to continue to rise. And here's what Coleman had to say. This is great news for aggressive spending teams like Philadelphia, especially with how Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie put these contracts together. The salary cap is going to explode again, and it's all because of this change in how Nielsen measures their ratings. Starting this year, they are leaning into using data directly from smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method. This means that NFL ratings in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube are going to be more accurately measured, and that number is going to be way bigger than you think because of just how many Gen Z and millennials consume football on streaming services. More accurate ratings means the league's next broadcast rights negotiation in 2028-29 is going to be way more expensive, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. So Coleman shared an opinion here. If I'm a general manager, that means next year or even this year, I can sign some truly outrageously backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030, not even care about the math. And why is that the case? Because in 2030, the NFL salary cap, ladies and gentlemen, could be way over, let's say, $300 million. And so this is very significant for the Eagles and all other teams, but not all other teams are aggressive like the Eagles. Not all other teams construct these contracts in a creative way to the likes of how Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie do it. And then Coleman the other day, haven't talked about this on the show, put out this tweet, and he did some math about how the Eagles specifically can make a Myles Garrett trade work. If I did my math right, the Eagles have about $216 million of dead cap slamming home from void years on 4 contracts in 2029. Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Devontae Smith. And then another $53 million in dead cap from void years on A.J. Brown's deal in 2030. My bet is Hurts and the 2 offensive linemen get extended, and they are relying on the cap jump from the new media deal to make those stacked cap hits not matter. How did Jeffrey Lurie get a lot of his money? From the entertainment industry. So he has the foresight here. And Lurie sold 8% of the team a couple of months ago to get $650 million in cash to keep paying these rolling option bonuses, plus another around $700 to $800 million that came in just from team revenue and league rev share. That's more than enough liquid to get Myles Garrett on a league minimum salary and just pay him in option bonuses to keep cap hits low until the heat death of the universe. The possibility of the Philadelphia Eagles landing Myles Garrett is real. And that's why I've been talking about it here on the show. From the football component to the salary cap component to how the Eagles run their organization. This is fascinating stuff. And the rich could get richer. So what say you? Do you want the Birds to trade for Garrett? Why for yes and for no? A lot of you are going to say yes. Some of you might say no to say, let's continue to build through the draft, and I totally get that. Eagles Super Bowl gear is available, by the way. All you have to do is plug in that link down below, thanks to our friends at Fanatics, chatsports.com/EaglesSB. If you watched the show yesterday, you know I wore that shirt with Jalen Hurts hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. You've seen myself and Chip wear this hat here to my right. You have the vintage tee, and yeah, I use that link, chatsports.com/EaglesSB, to get this incredible hoodie with the Nike mark on the sleeve. I'm not lying. I'm not just saying it. It's one of the freshest hoodies that I have. One of the most comfortable as well. So soft and awesome. Chatsports.com/EaglesSB. You can dress like myself and producer Chip. How could you turn that down? All right, let's get to this here on the back half of the show. A.J. Brown said some very interesting things that you cannot miss. And I think these things are very notable, very intelligent, could be a sign of things to come for the 2025 season. I also love, additionally, what AJ and Jalen Hurts have said about the Eagles' mentality going into next year. They didn't think that winning the Super Bowl and the feelings around it were what they envisioned. They are still hungry to run this thing back. They are still eager to try to win a second straight Lombardi trophy because they thought it was going to be elation. And while they enjoyed the celebration, and the parade was incredible, and AJ, Jalen, they talked about that, how the sights and the sounds and the feeling of that parade last Friday, a week ago today, one of the best days of my life, was something that was just truly magical. But they also thought that maybe they were going to be a little bit more content. Maybe they were going to reach this feeling and this aura that couldn't be matched. But they're so hungry, they're cutthroat competitors, that they want to continue to run this thing back. And they want to form a dynasty in Philadelphia. Elsewhere with what A.J. Brown said. He was on the NFL Network last night, and he called the Kevin Patullo hiring a great hire. It's pretty important that A.J. Brown thinks that way, and he's saying that. And then you think about what Lane Johnson said. He was pretty pumped up on social media, on X and on Instagram, saying, let's go. He also said that Patulo, Kellen Moore, and Nick Sirianni have been calling plays. And so Patulo played a process in the play calling, the game planning, the play designs, the scheme. And as we've talked about here on the show, with the interview that we've aired from Nick Sirianni, Sirianni runs a lot of his head coaching decisions through Kevin Patullo. He's his right-hand man. He's his guy. He leans on him for a lot of the important head coaching duties and offensive philosophical duties and visions as well. AJ also said that the offense is going to change and evolve. And I think that is really important because in the NFL, in life, in business, with friendships, with relationships, this is what you have to do. Apple came out with the smartphone. They could have been content. But then other cell phone carriers like Android started to make really good phones. What did the Apple products do? What did Steve Jobs do? They adapted. They evolved. They knew that there was competition out there on the marketplace. They made their products better, right? And in the NFL, you might have an offensive scheme, like in 2022, that takes the league by storm, that's explosive, that scores a lot of points, that has a lot of splash plays, that is unstoppable. But what happened the following year? The Eagles didn't adjust that scheme. So the league caught up to them, and that's why we saw a stale, mundane, predictable product, which resulted in the Eagles losing 6 of their last 7 games, and they couldn't make adjustments. In the NFL, you have to make adjustments and counter-adjust to how teams adjust to you. The Eagles did not do this after the 2022 season. And you have to think that the Eagles learned from that mistake in general with their offensive philosophy, but they learned from their mistake with promoting Brian Johnson from within and not freshening things up, not making changes and adjustments. The Eagles are a smart, intelligent, forward-thinking organization. That's why since 2001, they've been to 4 Super Bowls, and they've made it to 8 NFC Championship games. And I think that they are too smart with Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and then the core of players to repeat the same mistake that literally just happened in 2023. And in 2024, what did they do? Brought in Kellen Moore, fresh ideas, fresh concepts, and it resulted in a top 10 overall offense and an offense that scored 40 points. Obviously, Cooper DeJean's pick 6 was a part of that against a Steve Spagnuolo defense that nobody thought could be thrashed and throttled the way that Philadelphia did in New Orleans a few Sundays ago. And so I think that Kevin Patullo, after my interview with him, after speaking with him off camera, is going to bring some creative elements to this offense. I think Nick Sirianni has learned from that as well. And I think that we will see some needed offensive changes for this offense in 2025. So grade the hiring of Kevin Patullo, ladies and gentlemen. A, B, C, D, or F. Comment down below. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Have a great weekend. Our coverage is going to continue throughout the weekend and every day because that's the standard. And next week we'll be in Indy for the Combine.